So I wanted to take a minute and just talk about the sort of difference between doing precision-based outbound prospecting versus volume-based outbound prospecting. And last week I sort of read a LinkedIn post from the guy who runs AISDR, and he was talking about how digital interactions or sort of outbound interactions are just going to become advertising. And I thought a lot about that, and I thought it was really an interesting statement. I've certainly sort of had an idea that this is kind of where that would be going, which is if you think about sort of a banner ad model, it's like a cost per 1,000 impressions model. They tend to be extremely it's a low cost to do these sort of cost per 1,000 impression type of advertising models, primarily because the pass-through rate is so unbelievably low, because you're essentially taking this humongous sort of span of people and hoping that people have a pain point that you can activate with a banner ad that they may see, so on and so forth. So it's a very sort of indirect or sort of volume-based advertising format versus like maybe a Google ad, which is specific around keywords. And so that's how you might get from point A to point B there. And I started thinking about like precision outbound versus volume-based outbound. And I think the last 3 or 4 years, people really went hard into volume-based outbound. And I'm talking past like a Outreach.io or a Sales Loft or any of these sequencing tools. I'm talking about people using like Instantly.ai and these sort of platforms that are built to essentially do vast amounts of outbound email. And, you essentially need to have multiple email domains. You don't want to use your primary domain. You need a significant amount of email infrastructure, and it doesn't have to be super costly. It just, there is a significant amount of infrastructure that goes into that. And you spend a lot of time managing the messaging. You're really looking for messaging that's going to activate a particular populace. LinkedIn, obviously you max out on connects and messaging there. You might be able to like leverage multiple people, so like multiple actors in the sort of play, so to speak. And really what you're looking for is people to activate digitally. The telephone, you can sort of scale by adding more people, adding more SDRs. You can use things like parallel dialing platforms, so on and so forth. But you're spending all this money on a distribution system. And we're so used to spending significant amount of money on that distribution system that I think people are starting to look at precision outbound as a potential alternative to that sort of thought process and methodology. Now that you have tools like Clay, you can really build like military grade intelligence sort of surveillance programs on your prospects. If you know who you want to go after, it's actually pretty easy now to build really significant and complex signal tables that essentially every time you run them will tell you sort of who's in play. And those in play folks have exhibited some pain point signal. You're essentially talking about acute pain and acute understanding of the pain point at that point, and you can go directly in sniper rifle style and sort of take out that particular pain point at the prospect. What's interesting is this is now a very technology and process and surveillance investment infrastructure. So you're sort of switching the manner in which you're investing. You're investing from volume-based outbound, lots of assets, and it's all like you're investing in that distribution system, hoping something's going to sort of percolate. Over here, you're investing in the technology and sort of signal infrastructure to activate a pain point or sort of show activation of a pain point to then sort of go in and surgically attempt to solve it. And it's just a very interesting conversation that's happening right now. My belief is the precision outbound, if it's proven to be like effective and people can prove this system works, which I think everyone's actively trying to do that, it's going to be incredibly successful, far more successful than distribution because it's so costly to run distribution-based programs. What do you think?